Picture this. It is the night after one of the most brutal, most electric elimination chamber matches in recent memory. 6 women entered a steel structure in Chicago. One woman walked out as the undisputed #1 contender for the WWE Women's Championship. And that woman, the tattooed, relentless, unstoppable force known as the Eradicator Rhea Ripley, is heading to Wrestlemania. But here is the thing. Nobody told Jade Cargill to be quiet about it. And that is where everything gets genuinely, gloriously messy. Welcome back to Wrestling Impact. If this is your first time here, buckle up, because today we are not just covering a Smackdown segment. We are talking about the moment that cracked open what might be the most complicated, most psychologically loaded women's feud heading into WrestleMania 42. We are talking about the night Rhea Ripley walked into Portland's Moda Center and dared Jade Cargill to come say it to her face. And Jade? Jade actually did it. Let's go back to where this whole thing ignited, because context is everything in professional wrestling. Rhea Ripley had just survived the Women's Elimination Chamber. Survived is almost too gentle a word. She tore through Alexa Bliss, Kiana James, Asuka, Raquel Rodriguez, and the reigning SmackDown Women's Champion Tiffany Stratton like she had something to prove to the entire planet. Every single pod that opened, Ripley made a statement. By the time the match was over and her music hit, there was not a single person watching who doubted that this woman deserved to be on the grandest stage of them all. WrestleMania 42. Las Vegas. Allegiant Stadium. Rhea Ripley vs. Jade Cargill for the WWE Women's Championship. On paper, it is everything you want. It is power against power. It is hunger against dominance. It is a woman who has carried the women's division on her back for years against a woman who has been handed every resource in the world and asked to prove she belongs at the top table. But then, social media happened. Because somewhere between the confetti falling at Elimination Chamber and the Blue Brand's next taping, Jade Cargill decided to make a comment that sent shockwaves through the entire WWE universe. Without getting into the murky territory of whether any of it was scripted or organic and genuinely, it does not matter for the purposes of this story. Cargill made reference to Ripley having conversations with WWE's creative team. She brought up the fourth wall. She blurred the line between character and reality in a way that nobody saw coming. And Rhea Ripley? She was not having it. Ripley's response was sharp, pointed, and brutally direct. She made it absolutely clear she did not appreciate what was being said. She called out the dishonesty of bringing real human character into a professional environment. Chelsea Green piled on with some colorful commentary of her own. Piper Niven got involved. Even Zelina Vega found her way into the chaos with a meme that frankly was perfect. The entire women's locker room had opinions and they were not keeping them to themselves. Fans sat at home genuinely not knowing what was real and what was performance. Was this legitimate frustration boiling over? Was it a creative masterstroke designed to inject electricity into a feud that needed it? Reports from within the industry suggested the online exchange was not officially planned by WWE's writers, but those same reports also confirmed the company was not exactly upset about the buzz it created. The tension, that ambiguity, that delicious uncertainty that is the cloud hanging over Portland when SmackDown goes live. And here is what makes the opening minutes of this segment so incredibly compelling. Rhea Ripley walks out first. Now, think about what that choice communicates. In wrestling, coming out first is traditionally the position of the challenger, the underdog, the one who has something to prove. And yet there is nothing deferential about the way Ripley moves down that aisle. She does not rush. She does not look nervous. She walks with the kind of controlled energy that tells you she has already had the conversation in her head 1,000 times and she knows exactly how it ends. She gets in the ring. She takes the microphone. And in that characteristically no-nonsense way of hers, she essentially issues a challenge that is not really a challenge at all. She is not asking Jade Cargill to come out. She is telling her, come down here. Say what you said online to my face. Do it right now, in this ring, in front of all these people. You could feel the energy in the Moda Center shift. And then, Jade Cargill's music hits. The WWE Women's Champion makes her entrance, and she looks every single bit the part. She is carrying herself like she owns the universe, because as far as she is concerned, she does. She is the champion. She is queen of the ring. She has not lost a one-on-one match in over 7 months. She walked into WWE with arguably the most physically imposing presence the women's division has ever seen, and she has methodically dismantled every obstacle placed in front of her. She gets in the ring. She looks at Ripley. And then she extends her hand. Her left hand. Now, if you blinked, you might have missed it. But not everyone did. Wrestling fans online caught it immediately. Actor and lifelong wrestling devotee O'Shea Jackson Jr. was one of the first to point it out publicly in certain cultural contexts. Extending the left hand is a gesture of disrespect. Whether it was intentional or subconscious, whether Cargill knew exactly what she was doing or whether this reading is being projected onto an innocent moment, it does not change the fact that Ripley shook it. And in that handshake, there was a tension so thick you could have cut it with a steel chair. What follows is a promo exchange that, depending on your perspective, is either the most psychologically interesting segment of WrestleMania season or a deeply missed opportunity, and both of those readings have merit. Cargill opens by saying something that surprises almost everyone in that building. She says she respects Rhea Ripley. She says she respects her accomplishments, her journey, her place in this industry. The Portland crowd, which is absolutely primed for fireworks, does not quite know how to receive this. Is this a trap? Is she being genuine? Is this the calm before the storm? And then the real Jade Cargill shows up. Because in the same breath, she looks Ripley up and down and says she is not impressed. Not by the arms. Not by the legs. Not by the physique. She begins to compare herself to Ripley point by point. Her bar is bigger, her legs are more powerful, her overall package is superior. She is doing what she always does, using that extraordinary physical confidence as a weapon. She knows she looks like a comic book character brought to life. And she is using that knowledge like a sledgehammer. Then she delivers the line of the night. She tells Ripley that at WrestleMania, she is going to beat her badly. And there is nothing, absolutely nothing Ripley can do about it. Because Jade Cargill is that woman. She drops the microphone. Now the arena is looking at Rhea Ripley. And Ripley's face in this moment is a masterclass in controlled fury. You can see the gears turning. You can see her measuring every word before it leaves her mouth. Because this is not someone who loses her composure easily. This is someone who channels everything into a single, surgical response. She tells Cargill that yes, she too is impressed by what she sees standing across from her. She acknowledges Cargill's physique because Rhea Ripley is not insecure and she does not deal in denial. But here is the difference. Her body, Ripley gestures to herself with a quiet, almost eerie pride, was not built to look impressive in a photograph. It was not built for aesthetics or spectacle or magazine covers. Her body was built to fight, built to wrestle, built to survive inside a steel structure in Chicago with 5 other women trying to dismantle her and come out on top. Cargill's body, she suggests, was not built for that. She picks up the title shot she earned with blood and sweat and survival. She tells Cargill she will take that championship from her. She will do it with force. And there is nothing. The echo is intentional, the callback is sharp. There is nothing Jade Cargill can do about it. Because Rhea Ripley is that woman. She drops the microphone and walks away. Now let us be completely honest here, because this is Wrestling Impact and we do not do surface level takes. The segment has divided fans pretty sharply, and those divisions are worth exploring. There is a camp that loves everything about what happened. The mutual respect mixed with the veiled hostility. The callbacks. The handshake. The deliberate, almost cinematic pacing. They see 2 generational talents in the ring together for the first time, circling each other like predators, neither willing to give an inch but both wise enough to know the real explosion needs to happen in Las Vegas, not Portland. They see this as the opening chapter of something that could be genuinely extraordinary. And then there is another camp that wanted more. That watched the entire week of social media chaos, the fourth wall comments, the accusations, the locker room involvement, and expected something that matched that energy. They wanted heat you could see from space. They wanted a brawl that had to be broken up by half the roster and Nick Aldis in a suit looking absolutely terrified. They wanted the kind of segment that you are still talking about 15 years from now. Both camps are right, actually. Both of those things can be true simultaneously. Because here is the larger story that nobody can afford to ignore heading into WrestleMania 42. Rhea Ripley's entire journey to this moment is staggering when you lay it out. She has not held a singles championship since March of 2025. Think about that. One of the most beloved, most compelling characters in WWE, a woman who turned an entire arena into a congregation of devoted followers calling themselves the Judgment Day Faithful, a woman who made men and women alike lose their minds at WrestleMania by defeating legends in championship matches, has spent nearly a full year without gold around her waist. That is not a statement about her value. That is fuel. Everything she has gone through this past year, the dissolution of her faction's power, the loss of her title, the months spent rebuilding, every single moment of that has been deposited into this WrestleMania opportunity. She did not get gifted this. She walked through 5 other women inside a steel chamber in sub-zero Chicago winter energy, and she earned it with her body and her will. Jade Cargill, on the other hand, is writing an entirely different kind of story. When she returned from her time away from WWE programming, she came back with vignettes that announced herself as a storm. She called the locker room wolves. She attacked Naomi and immediately reinserted herself into the title picture with the kind of authority that only a handful of performers can project. She won Queen of the Ring. She took the WWE Women's Championship from Tiffany Stratton at Saturday night's main event. She has not lost a singles match in over 7 months. And yet, the questions follow her. Not from her detractors from the wrestling public who genuinely want to see her prove something. Can she deliver in the biggest match of her career? Can she carry a 20-plus minute Wrestlemania main event with someone who has done it before? Can she make believers out of the skeptics? This is genuinely the biggest professional test of Jade Cargill's career, and she knows it. Which is perhaps why there is something almost poignant buried beneath all the bravado, the flexing, the proclamations, the left-handed handshake. Somewhere in there is a woman who understands the weight of what April 18th means. And Rhea Ripley has been in that position. She has stood in that Wrestlemania spotlight with the entire world watching, and she has delivered, repeatedly, emphatically, historically. The road from Portland to Las Vegas is going to be fascinating. Because what we witnessed on Smackdown this week was not the climax of this rivalry, it was the ignition. The real chapter of this story has not been written yet. The real conversation between these two women does not happen on a microphone in a Smackdown ring in Portland, Oregon. It happens inside Allegiant Stadium in front of tens of thousands of fans and millions more watching at home on the last weekend of April. That is where Rhea Ripley's body, built to fight, built to wrestle, built to survive, will either reclaim championship gold or come up short against the most physically dominant woman WWE has produced since the beginning of the Performance Center era. That is where Jade Cargill either silences every single question that has ever been asked about her in-ring capability, or faces the hardest truth of her career. Neither of these women is backing down. Neither of them is blinking. And whether you found this week's Smackdown segment everything you hoped for or a chapter that needs a much better sequel, you cannot tell me you are not going to be watching every single week between now and Wrestlemania to see how this unfolds. That is the power of Rhea Ripley. That is the gravitational pull of a Wrestlemania moment in the making. And that, right there, is exactly why we do this. So tell me, where do you land on this? Was the Smackdown segment the right call, building slow burn tension ahead of Vegas? Or did they leave something on the table after the most electric week of social media wrestling drama in years? Drop your take in the comments right now, because I genuinely want to know what you think. If you are new here, welcome to Wrestling Impact. This channel is your home for deep dives, cinematic storytelling, and the kind of analysis that actually respects your intelligence as a wrestling fan. Hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, and we will see you next time. Because WrestleMania season is only getting started, and we are just getting warm.